Welcome back to our kitchen. I'm Nate,
I'm Jason.
and we're two gay dads. Today we're going to cover what Mother's Day looks like in our house. Preparing for vacation next week, we got a Disney cruise coming up.
Disney cruise.
And addressing the hate we're seeing online. And of course, Jason's got a dad fill of the week for us. And we'll close out with the gay agenda.
But, first I have to tell everyone our community continues to grow, so continue to smash that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, the best thing you could do would be to subscribe, follow, comment, help continue to grow our network and grow our community here as we talk about what it's like to be two queer parents in America in 2026. But before we get to the rest of the show, Lizzie, can you kick us off?
Hi, my name's Lizzie. This is Two Gay Dads. Let's get right into it.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about Mother's Day, or in our house we call it Papa's Day. In our house we choose to celebrate me as Papa on Mother's Day and Dad as Dad on Jason, and Jason as Dad on Father's Day. We recognize that every LGBT family has different ways of celebrating these two holidays, and this is the way that we've chosen to do it. In some cases, especially where there are two dads, they may celebrate the women in their lives on Mother's Day or birth mom. But in ours, this is the way that we chose to address it. And we're kind of proud of it and we're happy with it. So, Dad, I thought we could talk a little bit about this.
I think that's a really good setup for this conversation, Nate. It was your idea to bifurcate this. And this is the second or third year that we've done it this way. We didn't always do it this way. And I'll be honest, I was resistant at first. I was and am proud that Lizzie has two fathers, so I wanted her to celebrate us on Father's Day. But I also recognize that when we try to center this on what is Lizzie's experience and what is going to do right by her, what we talked about and through several conversations was that we should have separate days for each parent so that on Mother's Day, she doesn't feel left out. We do have a relationship with her birth mom, but we only see Lizzie's birth mom once a year. And so it's not something that we can just plan a special day around. And so I really like our tradition. I'd love to hear from all of our listeners out there what they do. But Papa, let me ask you this question. Where did you actually come up with the idea?
I don't think that there was any one place. I think just because we live, and we talk about this all the time, but we live in a small town, and I realized that there are going to be a lot of like schools and stuff do activities for Mother's Day, and I didn't want Lizzie to feel left out. So it was kind of in this environment our way of making sure that she was included. But I think over time it's become kind of a nice resting place because then, I get my day and you get yours. And it's, I don't know, it made sense to me, but I didn't really have any specific thing. And it's worth saying, like, we don't ignore her birth mom. In fact, this year, the last few years, we've gone to, we belong to a golf club. We've gone there for Mother's Day brunch. And I did specifically put on, Lizzie has a necklace that last year when we visited her birth mom, we had two necklaces made that have their birthstones in a heart shape. Etsy's amazing. And so, her birth mom has one and Lizzie has one. And so Lizzie wore that to honor her birth mom as well. And I don't think it has to be one thing or the other. I think we can have Papa's Day be my day, but we can also celebrate that there is this amazing woman out there that made us a family and acknowledge her too. It's not, I'm happy to share the day, if that makes sense.
I think that's so important. We often have used the phrase significant Women's Day in our household.
I love that.
Because in some cases it might be a grandma or an aunt or a sister that is raising you or has played a significant role in your life. I am fortunate. I have a fantastic relationship with my mother, and so I was able to celebrate her on Mother's Day. But I also, y'all can be jealous because I got the coolest mother-in-law in the world. And I also have a pretty cool sister-in-law. And so there are all of these other women, along with some of the amazing women that I get to work with in our normal full-time job, that have helped shape me and make me a better human. And so I love that we can have a day to lift up all of the amazing women that have shaped our lives. Lizzie has a mountain full of aunties. I'm gesturing to the basement because we just put her to bed. But she's got this mountain full of aunties that just love her, and I want her to remember all of them. as she gets older on this day too. But I think the idea that you came up with and what really helped move me in this direction, of like leaning in completely to this idea was the idea of as she goes through school, as she goes through some of these public activities where families like ours, we're not abnormal, but we're not the status quo. We're not what the traditional family. So it helps make this life easier for our kid. And at the end of the day, as a parent, like, isn't that what we do?
I've always used Significant Women's Day for a really long time since I was pretty young because my mom had an aunt who didn't have any children but helped raise us, helped raise my mom for sure, helped raise, all kinds of kids in the community. And I thought, well, doesn't she deserve to get honored? There's no like day for her. And then she's getting left out, and that doesn't seem fair either. So I started calling it Significant Women's Day, and and I remember I'd send her little notes and stuff because I think it is really important to acknowledge the women in our lives who touch us in many different ways that might not necessarily be moms, but they shouldn't be left out. And maybe I've never thought about it in the context of Father's Day, but we should do the same with Father's Day. This should be a day when we celebrate everybody. If we're going to have made up holidays by Hallmark, then like let's capitalize on it and get the most out of it to acknowledge as many people as possible, because right now in the world we need more love than the bullshit. And so let's find more love in these 2 days than just the people who happen to be parents.
So, two things that you just said that I want to reflect on. So, first, huge shout out to Aunt Helen. She is a listener every single week, top fan on our Facebook page. We love you, Aunt Helen. Thank you for being part of our family and a significant woman in Nate's life, my life, my mother in
For
law's
sure.
life, but also Lizzie's life. We all love you very much. Second of all, if it's going to be a Hallmark holiday, where are the movies? Where are the movies? We get Hallmark Christmas movies. Where are my Hallmark Mother's Day movies? Seems like they're missing out a thing. Someone should pitch them a Hallmark Mother's Day movie.
We could get a whole episode out of that with what's his name? The king of
Jonathan Bennett?
Jonathan Bennett. Get on it, Jonathan. We know you're going to listen to us one day. This is our opportunity. Let's get some Mother's
He's
Day and
leaving,
Father's. Actually,
he's leaving money on the table.
I did see there was a movie that was popped up on Netflix with Julia Roberts. I think that was a Mother's Day movie. So, Jonathan, get with it because Julia is stepping on your toes.
Listen, we need ourselves some. I don't, we only subscribe to the Hallmark Channel November and December. They could get us for year round if they would make those cheesy movies that we would love anyways with all the same plot. So,
Jason, I do got to break it to you. They do make those movies all year round. They're just better at Christmas.
I'm only watching the
There
Christmas
are
ones.
thousands of them.
Do you think we could get a side hustle as an actor in Hallmark movies? I mean, we're at least D-list talent, right? At this point.
Now Jason's auditioning for Mr. Christmas over here. I hate to break it to you. I've seen those
No.
guys, honey. You ain't got it.
I ain't got it. I'm too old. My back hurts too much.
You don't
And
have
I
six pack
don't-
abs.
That was my next guess. I was just gonna say I don't have the six pack abs. Once upon a time I did, but that was a long time
Although,
ago.
I just finished a whole podcast on GLP-1s, which I thought were the devil, but apparently are like doing amazing things. I'm not sold yet. I'm working on it. So maybe we should both get on GLP-1s. Give us time. We'll be jacked up too. I don't think they make you jacked, but like skinny would be nice. Anyway, so moving on.
So, Papa, given our what we did in our household, and I think it's really important when you have the non-traditional households that you figure out what works for you and your family. This is what works for our family. It may not work for your family. And so, but if you had to give a piece of advice to other LGBTQ parents or adoptive families out there trying to figure out how to approach, any of the traditional holidays or Mother's Day and Father's Day when that may not be readily available, like what advice would you give them so that, whatever they do feels authentic to their family and feels inclusive?
It's your life, honey. Live it the way you wanna. This would be the quick and easy. But no, I think like you make what works
was
for
that
you.
accent? Don't do that. Don't do
Drink your
that.
juice, Shelby. Anyway, so no, I see, and he's going to see he follows instructions really well. So no, I think that you got to live your life the way that you want, and like society is society, but do what works for you. Do what works for your family. And like, listen, my mom has never adopted this idea. She's just not comfortable with it. And that's up to her. And we'll do it the way that we choose to do it. I grew up doing German Christmas where you open gifts at night. Jason grew up doing Christmas morning
Absolutely
gifts.
not.
And, we had to pick one. We live was Lutherans, and my parents still want to know why I'm not a Methodist. Like every time I tell them I'm going to the church, they go, "You're going to a Methodist church, right?" And I'm like, "What does it matter? I'm going to church. Like you got the rock over the mountain. You're gonna come on." But no, I think like the point is you got to live your life the way that you want to. And as long as you're doing it with love and with the best intentions, then what everybody else thinks of it really doesn't.
Think that is absolutely spot on, Papa. I think it's about the intentionality that you bring to it, and you understand that we've said this before. It's been a few episodes since we said it, but there's not a template to raising a child. There's not a template to a family. There is love and authenticity, and you have to find what works for you, and that's what you do.
I do think too, like there's value in taking a day for each parent and saying to your child, like, parenting is really hard and we love it and we love you. But today we're going to celebrate this parent because they make sacrifices for us every day and we should acknowledge that. And I think like teaching your kid that like is the most important part of this because you're teaching them to appreciate like how we parent our children is how they will treat their partners. And so we're teaching them to acknowledge and celebrate the sacrifices and work of their partners, and what they contribute to the family. So if nothing more, you're teaching them a valuable lesson, and I think that's the moral of the story, if you will.
Papa, next week we are going to be out of the country. Hopefully it will be warmer than 50 degrees because we can't seem to get above 50 degrees here in Michigan. And we are off on our second Disney cruise. So, Papa, to you, we have a really good rhythm. I did kind of the front end planning. You're working through all of the logistics and making sure we have the sunscreen and everything's packed. What feels different this time, other than that Kelly and Cora are coming with us? But what feels different this time from the first time when we went on our Disney cruise last year?
Well, I think so. Like, I think any vacation second time around, you know what to expect a little bit more. Last year, I felt a lot of pressure to because it was a lot of unknowns, like overpacking and figuring out what to bring. This time around, it's like, okay, well, I know what to expect a little bit more, so it's easier. We still pack all of Lizzie's tiaras and all of her capes because if there's ever an opportunity for her to wear those to dinner and out and about, I'd rather that she do it on a Disney cruise than a random dinner at the golf club. But not that we would completely discourage it entirely, so I think it's
you almost got that whole sentence out of your mouth.
It's a funny you were over there with trying to get your paper on your stand and it kept falling off. I didn't comment about it, but it was funny. If you were in the room, you would have been laughing. Anyway, so no, I think like just knowing what to expect a little bit more and like it just feel much lighter going in. And so I think because of that, I'll enjoy it a little bit more. I tend to get really stressed out on trips, and so it's not that I don't enjoy them, but I tend to it manifests itself in like stomach issues and stuff. I just get like very anxious. So I feel less anxious going into this trip than I did last year or when we've traveled other times internationally. So what about you?
I think knowing what to expect. It's kind of funny. I feel like I've watched more YouTube videos. By the way, feel free to subscribe to Two Gay Dads on YouTube. But I do feel like I've actually watched more YouTube videos about the second cruise than I did the first one. Now, granted, we've had a little more time. Like we booked this in September, told Lizzie about it at Christmas. So we've had a really long runway to get here. The last time was we needed something to do on spring break. And one of our friends from our guys' night group suggested like Disney cruises are the best. We found a 3-day one and we decided to try it out. I think I've learned a lot of some of the like what not to do, what you should do videos are kind of spot on. I don't feel the need to run around and see the whole ship the second we get on because we've got 5 days. I know what to expect for the food, which is great. I know what the embarkation process is like
and
because that was
childcare.
The childcare on Disney is amazing. But like
we know how slick it is now.
Last year, getting on the boat was stressful. waiting in that line to drop off our bags, to wait in another line, to wait in a third line. And you've got your kid who's pulling on your shirt saying, Daddy, when are we getting on the boat? Daddy, when are we getting on the boat? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And it just like that gets to be overwhelming because you don't know. You don't know.
I think that we should tell the story as to the added factor of why getting we spent the night before, but why getting there was a little extra stressful. And you do tell us so well, Daddy.
Well, you can bring 2 bottles of wine onto a Disney cruise ship. And we thought we'd save some money by we've got our standard bottle of wine that we love here. It's an Alexander Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. So we packed 2 of them. Well, we packed in one suitcase and we packed Lizzie in another. Naturally, there was more room in Lizzie's suitcase than there was in the suitcase that was packed with 2 adults full of clothing. And when we got to the hotel in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we opened up the suitcase, one of the bottles of wine had broken all over Lizzie's outfits that had
Which were
been.
perfectly planned. They were adorable. Every plan had a little sweater because it gets cold. It's just, I tried.
You did amazing. So I ended up hopping in an Uber with a suitcase to the closest laundromat where the proprietor, owner, manager, worker, not exactly sure what it was. There was certainly a language barrier there. Looked at me with the suitcase and he said, "Airline?" And I said, "Yes." And he pointed over that way and he said, "That machine's the best." And then I had to go, of course, buy laundry detergent. And I don't know what kind of voodoo, magic, fabuloso, whatever stuff you can't buy here he gave me and sold me. But we got every lick of red wine out of all of Lizzie's clothing. And she got a whole new wardrobe that we had to buy another suitcase for when we got back in because we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah, so while Jason's trying to get the wine out of the clothes, Lizzie and I ran to, thank goodness there was a Marshall's nearby and completely replaced her wardrobe. So yeah, she had all kinds of clothes to go home with. But if it goes smoothly, then you're not having enough fun. So that was our misstep on that adventure. And then the next day, those jelly shoes. I thought that those were like supposed to be comfortable, so I put her in those to go. The brand new
Blisters.
So she had blisters the whole cruise. So like little things, dad fails that we are not going to replicate this time around. I've been planning for. So I stage things. So our office floor has had like Disney stuff. Like we have shirts, she has shirts, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just happy to, like, as the move approaches, be getting it off my floor. But we got some cute stuff. We're gonna take lots of pictures. We're gonna take some videos. We might try to shoot an episode. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I love that we're gonna do it with Lizzie's friend this year, and we're a little wiser. We're buying our wine in advance. We're just like we're figuring this out. So I think Disney's gonna be in our life for a little while. So we might as well go for it, right?
I mean, you know what was just really funny? So we just came from dinner before recording this with 2 of our friends. They're going on a Disney cruise next year and they're planning to bring wine. And their answer was like, well, why didn't you just buy the wine when you got there rather than putting it in your suitcase?
Because they might not have had AV. So we went to Rome a few years ago and I had bought wine bags because I thought we might bring wine back. And so we didn't end up using them. But I just remember, like, as we were packing for the cruise last year, looking at those wine bags going, we have them. We might as well use them. Nah, I don't feel like dealing with it. Oops. So I'm not taking the blame. I don't think either of us are to blame. But we're gonna we'll do it better this year.
How is it my fault? You packed the suitcases. You poorly positioned the wine inside of Lizzie's suitcase. Your fault.
Anyway.
Ooh, quick poll. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think. Whose fault is it? Nate's or mine? It's probably mine. So, Papa, what is one thing on the cruise that we're going to have next week? What is the thing that you are looking forward to the most?
Dropping Lizzie off at the daycare center and having adult drinks in the adult area and getting to enjoy vacation while our child is wonderfully cared for by the childhood care experts at Disney. What about you?
It's supposed to be 85 and sunny everywhere we're going to be. considering we've barely
Fair
cracked
point.
50 considering we've barely cracked 50 degrees more than like 3 days all of this year. And actually, at the same dinner we just came from, we were looking it up with our friends. It was 6 months ago today that we got our first major snowstorm in Michigan. So we're filming this on Wednesday, May 13th. It was November 13th that we got our first snowstorm. So this winter has been 6 months long, which is just way too long. And it's the winter that won't die and won't go away. So what am I looking forward to? I just want to walk around in a t-shirt outside and not be cold. Is that so much to ask for?
Here, here. I am. This winter is wearing me out a little bit. It's just, but it's been cool everywhere. It's been cool in DC. It's just, it's. I think it's just a
DC didn't get
cool start
70
to the summer.
gajillion inches of snow this winter.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I'm ready to be done with this winter.
So, Papa, one of the things we wanted to talk about is some of the negativity that we've been getting on the show, and it's we've talked about it with family, and they're like, don't lean into it, don't read it. Well, you can't not read it. You can't ignore it. And when you have a public platform like this one, you also want to try to moderate it a little bit, because you don't want completely disgusting things to be said on your pages that could be read, that could lead to people making you know bad decisions or hurtful decisions or just self-destructive decisions based on what they're seeing. And we're certainly not saying that everybody who's listening to this should also be like engaging in a social media war with them, but
it does help with the clicks a little bit. But yeah, that's not what we're going for.
it is unfortunately the way that the algorithm works, that the algorithm feeds the more comments and the more back and forth. But again, that's not why we're doing this. But why do you think our family platform, Papa, like draws this type of attention?
I mean, I follow a lot of LGBT folks on Instagram, and I read the comments sometimes just to kind of see. And they talk about the comments. It's just disgusting. It's these trolls. I mean that in not in the bot sense, but in the just jerks who are floating around online just with like spewing hate because I don't know, they're unhappy with themselves or whatever. And so they sit around and they make these comments, and they never think about how it could affect somebody. If you tell somebody who with body dysmorphia that they're fat and ugly, like that sits with people. Some folks aren't prepared to go to an LGBT safe space, and that's what we're trying to create here, and have people tell them that they're terrible or that they're sinners or that they're going to hell. That's just not what they're looking for. It's not the community we're building. And so it has the potential to be incredibly destructive. Words really do matter. The words really do matter. The things that you say stick with people. And some of the stuff that we've seen, and I struggle with is like, okay, is this something that we engage on? I worked on Capitol Hill, like don't engage the crazy, right? But also like, is this something where I'm going to make a snarky response, or is this something where we're going to delete the comments? And I think the really heinous stuff, I have no problem going through and deleting comments. I'm, your First Amendment's rights, and the second that you decide to get on a privately owned platform and spew hate. So I don't have a problem censoring my stuff, but
But people confuse their First Amendment rights. So you have a First Amendment right, freedom of speech, to not have persecution from your government because we disagree with the president or we disagree with the governor. That doesn't mean you are free from consequences. I am free to tell my boss to go jump in the lake. He's free to fire me, right? And there are consequences for those. But like just one of those comments that just like, so this was on the short that we posted, and you might remember a while back we were talking about away the gay and how that just doesn't work, and Nate, you made yourself so beautifully vulnerable and so in a very intimate way, sharing with people that you had gone to altar call after altar call after altar call and asked God to take this from you. And the comment we got, and we didn't delete it, so you can go find it on our page. But I'm not going to say who it was, but like the comment was, "Are you dead yet? There is time for prayers to be answered. He does the work in His time. The big question is, did you turn away from your sin?" And it went on from there. And excuse me, but that shit just pisses me off. It just pisses me off. Like there's no other way to put it. If you're trying to say you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, Nate, you're a Christian, you are not representing my chosen faith when you act like that in such a judgmental way. To be talking about a sacrament of forgiveness and to come out there and say, "Are you dead yet?" Well, you're not dead yet. So he's going to take it away from you in his time, not yours. Like, how ignorant.
Yeah, there was that. There was a lot of the, being gay isn't a sin, but acting gay is a sin, or to act on it is a sin. And it's, I was blessed in life. We were blessed in life because we found metropolitan community churches. I know we've talked about trying to see if we can get the pastors on to come on a show, but we were blessed by by a church that was affirming, and really brought us back to our faith of choice. I don't need you to tell me what God is or who God is, or I frankly, if I were looking for internet validation on my faith, or internet validation on my homosexuality, I would be a fool. I don't come here for that. I'm here to talk about my family and to help other people who are like us find their way into parenthood and through everyday parent life as parents. That's what I'm here for. So, if you think that you're gonna make a little comment and somehow it's gonna change my life, get over yourself. You're really not that important, and you're really not going to have the effect that you do. Now, like I said, I enjoy the snarky ones though, that I get to be like, really, this is your entire identity. Be sending pukey faces to my conversation with Sam last week, talking about the beauty of family formation. Like, really, that's okay. Apparently, I threaten you. That's sad for you, and your entire identity is wrapped up in doing this. Fine, whatever. But it's people.
I just think there's just a broader societal concern that we have when we think about this form of online bullying. When you and I were in high school, and Nate, you have stories about how you were bullied. At least when you went home, it stopped for the most part, right? Like you had some safe space in this environment that we live in now. And it's, we have not yet had the conversation about when, if ever, will we let Lizzie get on any form of social media. But you do open yourself up to, like, the bullying follows you. I coached high school golf for 4 years, and I would hear the kids talk about how they'd get sent nasty snaps, or uh, or the comments that would get made. It's like the bullying doesn't end, and it does. Like, it does. Like, you try to let it roll off your shoulders, but, like, the worst phrase, I think, with well intentions, that I was ever told growing up was, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me." Man, I don't know. There have been comments that have been said to me. I'd rather have you hit me with a 2x4 than say those words to me. And so, like, you try to let them roll off the back. But we as a society, I implore all of us, like, can we just do better? Can we just try to not be online bullies?
I think we just need to find kindness just generally. I mean, you go to the grocery store. I know I do most of the shopping, but like, people are rude. It's just, you don't need to be. We need less Karens in the world. To all of the people named Karen that are nice, I love you. But we need less Karens in the world. We need less cruelty in the world. We just, like, be nice to your server. All the things that we try to teach our kids. Like, I need to get some adults. We're going on Disney cruise next week. Sit around and watch people. People are rude, and it's just, there's no reason for it, and it's not how we would raise our kids. It's not how we're raising our child, and I think that we can all be kinder. I do remember the worst comment we ever got was my sister got married and we wore kilts, and we posted a picture, I think, on Twitter, us with our kilts.
It's
And
called X.
yeah, whatever, the platform formerly known as. And Lizzie was in a cute little outfit. She was like, what, not even 6 months old. And
It was she was born. It was like 3 months old because Lizzie was born in
she
July and the
was
wedding was
little.
October.
We should put a picture up on this, but it's really cute. But anyway, so a Scottish wedding, so we wore kilts. And I remember the first time that we'd ever gotten a comment like this. Now I feel like we'd probably be like, oh, whatever, we get them all the time. Was just that, like, how we were grooming and abusing our child. And there was a comment that we got that was like that we were abusing our child, or it was can't wait to see these guys get indicted or something like that. And it was just like the idea that I would hurt my child. Like, there are people out there that do that. I understand that, and I don't necessarily, like, look for them in any particular setting. They're all over the place. Look at how many pastors have been indicted this year on child porn or molestation charges. But that's not who we are. I would never hurt my child, and so the insinuation that somehow just because I'm gay, that we are somehow harming our child, it just blows my mind. And so it's offensive, it's ugly, it's cruel, and it's just stupid. And so, but those are the ones I think that really that like go to my core, because it's you're passing judgment on somehow that we are just because we're gay, we're terrible molesting children. It's just, and it's, again, it's just bullshit, and it's cruel, and let's just do better. Let's just do better.
I think at the end of the day, we just try to stay grounded. We've chose to put ourselves out here with this podcast and with this platform. And so we don't want to let the noise distract us from the community that we're building and from the joy that we get from making this show every week. But we did think that it was appropriate. Like, when you see the hate, you don't need to respond with hate. Respond with kindness
Or snark.
or snark. Snarky kindness could even be the best. It's been it has been eye opening to see that, probably the negative to positive comments, probably, three negative comments to every one positive comment. Now, I do like that if you do it on Facebook, I can now invite you to follow the page if you like a post or comment on it. So all the people who say nasty things, I then immediately invite them to follow our page. I don't think they are, but it's my little like, oh, well, good. You can keep driving those clicks. You can keep putting those comments on there. Keep feeding the algorithm so our content sees more people. But we choose to do this because we wish a podcast like this existed when we started our process.
It's I have anxiety and low self-esteem. You think that the voices in my head aren't loud enough, that I need you to contribute to them? Like, it's just, and I think that's the thing. You never know what people that you're encountering are going through. And so when you take an opportunity to tear them down, you could do so much more harm. And so, like, I agree. Let's do better.
So we are going to move on to our dad fail of the
Dad fail of the week. Yeah, yeah. Would you break this time? Oh no. Dad fail of the week. Let's relive that crime. Woohoo!
So, Daddy, the microphone's to you.
Yeah, this time it's me. We do this segment because we're not perfect parents. We try, but one of the things we joke about is, every parent screws up their kid. So we're just trying to not screw up our kid the same way our parents screwed us up. We're going to screw her up in whole new ways. So when we came back from Washington, D.C., I came back about 48 hours ahead of you, Papa, and got home at about 2 o'clock Friday morning, had to work on Friday, got Lizzie home from school, and then we had a very, very busy Saturday. We had soccer game, birthday party, and then dinner at a friend's house that evening. And as we were getting ready to go to our friend's house for dinner, I was running on E, out of energy, and I kind of snapped at her. And she looked at me, and she'd never said this to me before. She said, "Daddy, why are you being so rough on me?" And it was like a kick in the gut. And I deserved it. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't misbehaving. She was moving, as her teachers told us, at Lizzie's standard time. And I wanted her to move at Daddy's standard time. And those things were just not in alignment in that moment. I was getting frustrated. At the end of the long day, I was tired. I was imperfect, and my kid called me out on it. And the only thing I could do was reflect on it. And when I got her into her car seat, I stopped for a second. I said, "Hey, thank you for telling Daddy he's being too hard on you. You're right. I'm really sorry." And we did our thing. We hugged it out, which is what we do in our household to have resolution when there's conflict. And we told each other we we loved each other, and then we moved on, and we had a really enjoyable rest of the night. But Papa, I don't know if you've had something similar, not necessarily in the same week, but like when your kid says like, "Hey, I think you're being kind of rough on me," and then you realize that you are. Ugh.
I think first of all, every parent experiences it, and you have to decide like, am I, or But I think like the hallmark of good parenting is when you look at it and you go, I'm kind of being a jerk to my kid, to like stop or to find a moment while it's still fresh, because you don't want it to linger without closure, and to have that moment. I remember Lizzie and I were driving down to Grand Rapids, which is about an hour and a half away, and we got an hour down the road, and I don't remember what, but she was just being terrible. This is quite a while. It was a couple of years ago, and I pulled over and I got out of the car. I think we had your truck, and so I set her on the bed of the truck, and we talked it out, and just kind of like, this is how I feel. She didn't have the words right then to articulate how she felt, but we worked through it and we hugged it out. And I think like that's the good, when good parenting comes in. I do remember there was like it was a hospital or clinic parking lot, and this you know security guard looked at us very suspiciously, and I said, "You must not be a parent." Because I think any parent who saw that would go, "Oh, I know exactly what's going on." They restart. And I think it's, like I said, it's important to realize if I am in the wrong, then I need to reset with our kid, because otherwise, again, words matter, and I do have the potential to cause harm or to leave her feeling not good about herself, and that's not what I want to do to her. So kudos to you for realizing it, and take a moment to reset with her. I gotta figure out how to teach our kid how to hustle a little bit, because boy, she does move at her own pace.
Well, she really does. Things we've learned from her kindergarten teacher, Lizzie Tude and Lizzie Standard Time. You
Yes.
know, it's a generational difference too, because we'll apologize to Lizzie when we're wrong, and we've had your parents in mind say, don't do that," and we respect them, and we respect the way they raised us. We're choosing to raise Lizzie differently than that, and we talk a lot on this show about how, as queer parents, we feel this need to be perfect all the time, to be at everything, to be the super involved one, to do this, to prove our value, to prove our value as parents, and to disprove some of the comments that we just talked about. We didn't spend all the money we spent and go through all the process we have to harm a child. We did that all because we had love to share and wanted to give it to a child. That's it, pure and simple. And so we share these to be like, man, sometimes every parent just drops the ball. And you know what we should do? We should make that okay. And so
Absolutely.
the dad fail of the week is us making it okay.
Well, and I do want to say, like, if we correct Lizzie and she was wrong, we don't apologize that she got a timeout. That's the difference. When we're wrong, we apologize. I apologize when I've crossed the line and not been my best self, and every parent does that. But I'm not apologizing to her because she did something wrong. That's why part of the process is we make her name what she did wrong. I wasn't listening, or I almost walked out into traffic. Like, that's part of the process too, is her articulating why she got disciplined, but we're not apologizing for that piece. And I think like sometimes I feel as though some folks conflate the two and say, "Oh, well, you're apologizing because you yelled at your kid." No, when my kid is wrong, I will dole out the discipline that I think is necessary without apology. I will also seek closure once that is complete, and I will give her space to feel the way that she feels about it. But when I'm wrong, I apologize, because that's important too. Because again, the way that we parent is how we are teaching our child to parent and love their partners. And so the way that they see us, they will reflect onto how they treat their partners and their kids one day.
Absolutely, Papa. So, as we move into this week on the gay agenda,
This is the gay agenda. Queer news uncensored. Stay tuned.
so we're going to do the gay agenda a little differently this week. Nate is going to share his article, and then earlier today we lost a gay icon from the sports figure. We want to do a little tribute to him. That will be my gay agenda item. And we'll close the show with that. So there'll be no, what did we learn from Lizzie this week? We're going to close in a memoriam to Jason Collins, the former NBA star, and end the show on that note. But before we do that, Papa, what did you find going on? How are the gays wrecking the world this week?
No, so I last week on our show, Sam talked about the LGBTQIA plus community, and she gave a really, if you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to it. She gave this really amazing explanation of the two-spirit side of our community. And so I found this article and I thought it was really interesting. This is about Arnold J. Dalwoolley, who identifies both as two-spirit and a Native American gay man. And in this conversation he has with the person writing the article, the reporter, he talks about like the two-spirit identity has persisted for thousands of years among thousands of tribes across the continent. But he found that there wasn't a really great, there was a lack of online and general community resources for people who identify as two-spirit. So he founded an organization called Two-Spirit Advocacy. And so he started with like out of the bed of his truck, just like, how do I reach out to people like me, to my fam?
That's
then,
so cool.
Yeah. And so about a year and a half ago, he opened his first brick and mortar community center in Minnesota. And since he has been continuing to grow this community, he's also working with other organizations, a Two-Spirit and Native LGBT Center for Equality and Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirits. So I just this is another example of people in the community seeing a hole and saying, how do we fill this with love and with advocacy and bring people together that are similar and have similar experiences. We'll post a link to the article. There's he goes into as well talking about his mother and grandmother were both survivors of the time in American history, the Indian boarding school, time in American history that did a great deal of harm. So I think for him, born out of trauma is an incredible opportunity to not only be his authentic self, but to build a community of love. So to him, well done. So Daddy, with that, I turn it over to you.
That's really cool. We should reach out to him to see if we can get him on the show. We are a community, and sometimes communities learn together. And we are deeply grateful for Sam last week for sharing her knowledge of what it means to be two-spirit. And I think a conversation, just like we did when we had Stephen Chakumba from Rainbow and Black on when they saw a hole. There were no services for largely targeted at Black trans youth or support groups for Black parents of Black trans youth. And so I think this is really cool. I think it's enlightening, and it's a way for us to just broaden our horizons and learn new perspectives and new creativity. So let's see if we can reach out to him to get him to come on the show. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
We do want to honor Jason Collins. For those of you who don't know, Jason Collins came out a little over a decade ago. Played 2 seasons after he came out for the Brooklyn Nets. He was the first ever out professional athlete at the premier level, so NBA, Major League Baseball, and he lived his life in an authentic way. And we lost him today after an 8-month battle with brain cancer. And so we just want to honor this brave icon in our community. Jason Collins lived a life defined by courage, authenticity, and quiet strength in a world that often asks people to hide who they are to be accepted. Jason chose truth. He became the first openly gay active player in Major League American professional sports, not for attention, not for applause, but because he believed no one should have to live in silence. What made Jason extraordinary wasn't his history making headlines, it was his humanity. He carried himself with dignity, humility, and grace, while opening doors for countless others who finally saw themselves represented in places that once felt unreachable. His bravery sparked conversations far beyond basketball. He reminded us that leadership is not always loud. Sometimes it's simply the willingness to stand fully in your truth when it would be easier not to. Jason Collins changed lives because he chose honesty over fear and purpose over comfort. And because of him, generations after him will walk a little freer, dream a little bigger, and know they belong. That is legacy. That is courage. He was 47 years old, and he is survived by his husband, 3 siblings. To his family, thank you for sharing him with the world. And to Jason, may you rest in power.